I've had this testimony of my experience with porn and the experience I had in my first marriage that I really wanted to share, but it's never been the right time. Just never the right audience or the right group of people to share it with. And when Elle started doing her YouTube series, I just felt that it was time to share with everyone my issues that I struggled with porn and how it affected my life, how it came about, and how I got out of it. So when I was 16, I started dating a guy in high school that was a little bit older than me, and shortly after we started dating, I found out that he was pretty seriously addicted to porn. He shared with me, whether this is true or not, that his only experience with sex education with his parents was seeing porn with his dad just showing it to him and saying, this is how it works, do you need to know anything else? And that was all he knew. And his sisters shared a story with me that they thought was really funny, that he, before the days of just getting on the internet in 2 clicks to get to a pornography video, when you had to download them, he would download them onto DVDs and sell them to kids in middle school. So he was in pretty deep from a young age. And as our relationship progressed, we were never very on track spiritually. I started becoming interested in sex like years into the relationship, and he still, it wasn't from a standpoint of, I want to save ourselves for marriage, I want to keep this relationship pure. It was just he didn't have an interest in it. So we fought again and again about his pornography and how he would just a daily basis do this over and over again, and it never got cleared up. And he basically told me that I needed to either accept it or leave. So we dated about 5 years before we got married, and he never quit. He got deeper and deeper into it. And shortly before we got married, I decided myself to see what all this was about, to check it out for myself. And there was a point, I was an adult at this point, 18 or 19, when I decided to watch pornography by myself. It was never something that my ex wanted to do with me, but I felt if I watched these videos and almost took notes, saw how the girls dressed, what they did, that maybe there's something I could change about myself that would make him more interested in me. We had a great friendship. It just never reached the romantic levels that a marriage should, and I feel a lot of that was because all he knew about romance was pornography, and all I knew in my dating life was him. So that's all we knew was each other in the real world, and then his other side. So I would start watching videos and then going and trying to get his attention that way, trying to make him take a deeper interest in me. And in the midst of all that, we got married. I was 21, and we had not lived together before. We would spend time together as much as possible, but it wasn't until we started living in the same household that I realized how bad it had gotten for him. And our relationship was good from a friendship level up until we got married, and then it got bad. He never wanted to have sex with me, which was something that was really important to me, and it led me deeper and deeper into watching porn myself because I couldn't get love and affection from the one person I wanted it from the most. So I would seek it in other ways. There were times when I would ask him to stop throughout our marriage, or ask him to, even if he had to watch it, I almost came to a place of acceptance with it because it was better than fighting about it. And I would ask him to just be more intimate with me, even if he had to. And he gave me a metaphor one time that has really stuck with me, that pornography for him was like chocolate chip cookies. He compared sex with me to fresh baked, homemade, awesome chocolate chip cookies, but porn for him was like store-bought chocolate chip cookies you get in the package, and they're easy, they're right on hand, and you don't have to clean up afterwards, you don't have to do all this prep, it's just there, it satisfies the need, and it's done. And while he would enjoy being intimate with me, it just was a lot of work. And I don't even think so much on the like having sex level. When you're married, there's a lot of work that goes into being intimate. It's 24/7 with a married couple. It's not just that 15 minutes where you're having sex. It's saying I love you and doing things for the other person and making them happy and safe, and cultivating that relationship between us was something he struggled with. So it got less and less. We were married for a year and a half. I continued to watch porn more and more as we grew apart, and as I needed something to fill that void to make me feel better. So it got to the point where we hadn't been intimate in 3 or 4 months, and I later found out that he was having an affair with a younger woman, which we were kids ourselves. So it for him, I think, was just something new he needed. I think watching porn for both of us, sex no longer became sacred, even though it really was never so much for us. But when you're watching videos and you see a storyline where a man's cheating on his wife, or a woman's sleeping around, or doing all kinds of weird things, it becomes more and more okay for you to step outside that marriage, for you to do some of those things. And there's no morals when it comes to that. So I think he really didn't feel any remorse at all about seeing this girl for months on end. It ended our relationship. In the months leading up to it, he had become increasingly more and more verbal and physically abusive. And I can't put words in his mouth. I don't know why, but I feel that porn was a big root of the issues that we had. That his anger issues and the fact that I felt like an object sometimes came from this addiction he had from a child. And when your mind's polluted like that from such a young age, that's all you know. You know nothing else. You don't know the goodness, the pureness of a sexual relationship between a husband and a wife. And so when it ended, even though I was pretty brokenhearted, it was a huge relief for me. But afterwards, I really spiraled out of control, both with seeking one-night stands and increasing how much I would watch porn. There were no morals for me anymore, no ethics. It was just whatever felt good in the moment, and filling that void I had. Porn addiction and porn issues with women are so overlooked, and there's this shame about having an issue with porn. I feel like the sin tied around that and tied around like any sexual issues, there's so much shame around it, and it's so hard for people to seek help from it because it feels icky and dirty, and it's something you don't want other people to know, where it seems easier when there's other sins that you're dealing with, other issues you're struggling with, to share it with people, because I don't know if there's less judgment there, or it's more like okay to do those things. But I think it is important from my point as a woman to say that, like, I struggled with it too, and it's something that once in a while it still comes up. I haven't had a desire to watch it when I'm awake, but I still have dreams once in a while about wanting to watch it, and I have this internal battle in my dream about, maybe you should watch this, maybe you should do that. And it's definitely carried over, and it's something I'm still seeking complete healing from. It's nothing to be ashamed of, and if you go to someone and are talking to them about this and they start becoming judgmental, then that's not the person you need to be talking to about it. Then find someone else who's going to come from a loving standpoint and love you through it. And for those that haven't dealt with it, if someone comes to you and wants to talk, don't look down on them for it. One of the biggest blessings in my life has been friends that I've been able to talk to about these things and help me through them. And that still loved me just the same. That didn't change how they talked to me or how they thought of me because of stuff I struggled with. So to both women and men that have struggled with porn, another thing, not even just the porn, but the whole sexual, I don't even know what to call it, the issues I had with one night stands and sleeping with multiple guys at the same time and everything, and women too. It got to a point where it didn't matter whether it was a guy or a girl. Those issues, that's not going to keep you from God's goodness and from the amazing things He has from you. I always felt in the back of my mind that I never would deserve a husband that just all out loved me and was so good for me because of how awful I had been. And I know that's not biblical, and I feel like that's across the board with a lot of sins that people struggle with, that sorry, having a baby made me a lot more emotional. I think a lot of people struggle with not feeling good enough, or not feeling like you've truly been redeemed. I think a lot of people, not just in pornography or sexual sins, feel like they can't truly be forgiven or truly be redeemed. And even if they feel forgiven, from God's standpoint, maybe not being able to forgive themselves. And I just truly felt that I wasn't worth it, and I did not deserve, after the things I had done, to have an awesome husband. But I got redemption in that. I met someone that God was preparing for me even when I was in my darkest place. He was preparing a husband for me that just totally is head over heels in love with me and would do anything for me and always puts me first. And I feel so blessed and so loved to know that God cared that much for me, that when I was struggling with my stuff, he was still making the path for me to get out of it and get better. And my current husband has even shared with me that he felt the same way, that he struggled with a lot of sexual sins as a young adult, and he figured when God would give him a wife, it would just be a wife that was plain and boring to him, that wasn't everything he wanted in a woman, just because of how bad he had been. But I think it's such a testimony to God's goodness and his love, that once you ask for forgiveness and say, like, I want to move on from this, I don't want this anymore in my life, he says, okay, it's gone, it's done, no more. And you get to move on, and you get the goodness and the fullness of life. And I got to experience in a healthy marriage what true love is, what a marriage should be, what it's like, and how awesome it is when a husband and wife are both walking with the Lord, and what true intimacy is, how awesome that can be. Be open and available for other people. And I do strongly believe that, if you're a woman struggling with this, you need to go to a woman and talk to her. And if you're a man struggling, you need to go to a man and talk. Because there is a difference in the sexes. And even though there's a push these days to make them completely equal or the same, we're not. And we process things different. We think about things different. Women watch porn for different reasons than men do. So being able to talk to a woman, if you're a woman, is important. And just to be open, and even if someone's sharing something with you, sharing something that is totally blowing your mind and you don't know how to process it, being able to keep a loving face on, keep a loving demeanor about you, and not let them know that maybe inside you're thinking, oh my goodness, I don't even know how to process this. How is this happening? Why are they sharing this? I had a girl come to me once who, not to bash the leadership in her church, but she came to me and asked if she could sit down and speak with me about something she'd been dealing with. And I really wasn't expecting her to talk about her porn addiction, and she was pretty young at the time. And she shared with me that she really felt a lot of judgment from the leadership at her church, and she couldn't talk to anyone about it because she knew that they had never struggled with it, or if they had, they were so uptight about it that she just felt like they wouldn't understand. And even though she didn't know that I had dealt with the same thing, she felt safe enough to come to me and talk to me about it. So I think just like we share testimonies about how the Lord has set us free from other things, for me it was important to share this testimony so that the girls in my community and further out in this region, this state, that they would, across the country, that they would know that other women struggle with this, that other women are seeking love, and this is how they choose to do it. And it's okay. It's not okay to continue in it, but it's okay. You're still loved by your Father. You are still loved by the people in your community. You're not going to be ostracized or turned away. So with getting out of a porn addiction, getting free of it, for me, I was pretty much instantly delivered from it. When I met my current husband, I was going down a pretty dark path, and he invited me to go to church with him. And the day I went to church with him, I stopped. And I feel with addictions, it's not like a weaning off process for anything, but especially pornography. You're not weaning yourself off, telling, oh, well, I'll just watch one a week and that will be okay. I really believe that people can be instantly delivered from it through prayer, through meditation. For some people, it might be a process of prayer and fasting and getting through it. I think being accountable to someone is also a really, really important thing. Having someone that you trust, finding that person that you can talk to about it, that understands you and that is going to check up on you, that is going to keep you accountable, that isn't going to be afraid to get a hold of you and say, like, have you watched any porn this week? What can I pray for you for? Are you struggling? What can we do for you? To run headlong after your Heavenly Father and find your peace and find your rest in Him. Whether it's finding Him on your own or seeking out someone that you admire their relationship with the Lord, that you admire how close they are with God, how they hear from Him, how they interact with Him, how everything in their life is just consumed by Him. If you know someone like that, talk to them, ask them, what did you do? How did you get this way? And seek Him through that.